Hello everyone, so it's been a while since I've done one of these kinds of videos where I rank movies in a series. I did this once before with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I really need to update that video because there's been like 4 more movies ever since then. Um, but I thought I'd do one today for the Saw series because this is a series I was a very huge fan of back in middle school and high school. I used to watch these movies like constantly. I've probably seen each of these movies like over 10 times, you know what I mean? I was such a huge fan. And, they got the new movie Jigsaw out, which is like the 8th movie officially. I haven't seen that yet, but the reviews haven't been, that great. But then again, the reviews for any of these movies haven't been that great. And, in my opinion, I don't think um, all these movies are bad. I only think there's one in here that's actually like really bad. I don't hate it though. I actually think there's 4 movies in this series that are actually like great movies. Um, but critically though, this series has not had the best reviews. But anyways, real quick, I thought I would have my old DVDs here of each of the 7 movies and just do a quick ranking and show you what I think of each movie. And yeah, and real quick too, I wanted to mention they have the new Saw movie collection. Well, actually, this isn't new. This came out maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Um, but I really needed to, get rid of all these DVDs because I'm trying to upgrade all my movies to Blu-ray. I got this at Best Buy maybe a week or two ago for like $9 or something like that. Really good deal because you get all 7 movies on Blu-ray. The only downside though is that this does not include any special features. But I did find out that the digital copy included with this actually comes with features, digitally, of course. So I actually went ahead and used the digital copy for this. And yes, it does include features, which is nice. The only downside, though, there is no commentary. Obviously, digital features aren't going to have a commentary. So, yeah, no commentaries or anything like that. So, I don't know if I really plan on getting rid of all these DVDs, because all of these DVDs have commentaries on them. Some have more than one commentary. And, I'm a big fan of commentaries. It's probably my favorite special feature there is for a movie. But yeah, and this also includes, like, I think it's 3 discs. The first disc has the first 2 movies. Second disc has 3, 4, and 5, and then the last disc has 6 and 7. So yeah, but still, they look great on Blu-ray, and I've been dying to have these on Blu-ray, see what they look like, and great quality. But yeah, I just recommended this just in case you guys are trying to get them on Blu-ray. That's a really good thing to get, and for a good price, and you get the features and all that. Just no commentaries though. But anyways, here I have all 7 on DVD, ranked from worst to best, and you can see already what the worst one is. I don't know if it's a big surprise, but yeah. So I'm gonna go through each one real quick and talk about them, and yeah. So this video is probably gonna be kind of long, but yeah, I'm a big fan, so expect a lot. All right. Anyways, coming in last place, what a surprise! It is Saw: The Final Chapter, or Saw 3D, whatever you want to call it. Saw 7 should have been called Saw 7. They wanted to go with the 3D gimmick. My biggest issue with this movie is that they filmed it in 3D. Now, that shouldn't be a problem, right? No, the fact that they actually filmed it in 3D is the problem. The cameras that they used had terrible picture quality. The picture quality isn't terrible. Let me rephrase that. The saturation is terrible. This movie looks so bleak and, uncolorful. There's a similar problem with the 4th Pirates of the Caribbean movie, if you guys know what I'm talking about, on Stranger Tides. Go and watch Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest, the 2nd movie. Notice how beautiful and colorful and eye-popping that movie is. It's very nice to look at. Then watch Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, the 4th movie, and notice how desaturated and bland it looks. That's because they filmed that movie in 3D as well. Now, that came out in 2011. This movie came out in 2010. So, around that time frame, for whatever reason, whenever they film movies in 3D, they looked so bland and not disgusting, just terrible to look at. I don't know if it has to do with them converting it into 2D or whatever. I never did see this in theater. I was obviously too young back then to go to the theater to see this, but I don't know if it looked better in 3D or not. The blood in this movie looks pink. Everybody's aware of this. People talk about it all the time. The blood in this movie looks pink. It looks terrible. Um, just that is my biggest issue with this movie, is that it was filmed in 3D of all things. The aesthetics. There also are problems within the story. I was not a fan of this character, Bobby Dagan. I thought the actor, what's his name? Hold on a minute, I'll find it. Sean Patrick Flannery. There you go. He's an okay actor, I guess. I've never seen Boondock Saints, but he's in that with Norman Reedus. Apparently, that's a great movie. I thought his character was stupid. I did not like his acting in the movie, just being honest. I did not care for that whole storyline with him and those, him faking that he was a survivor and all that stuff. I mean, that's an interesting concept to tackle in one of these movies, that, oh, there's a jigsaw survivor who actually wasn't really a jigsaw survivor, and he's making profit off of it, by having a book. That is a good idea. But, I don't know, just when I watch this movie, it just feels like such a low-budget piece of crap. And the acting, from him and all those other characters just sucks. The best part of this movie, though, is all the stuff with Hoffman and Jill Tuck. I absolutely love that stuff, and even the Dr. Gordon stuff. That's another thing, too, that was weird. Dr. Gordon's in this movie again. By the way, this is going to contain spoilers for all the movies. Sorry if I didn't mention that before. I like the stuff with Dr. Gordon, and I don't mind so much the twist at the ending. I actually, as a fan, as a huge fanboy, I thought that was a cool ending. I know a lot of, people kind of predict that would happen. Some people think the writers actually took that idea from the fans, having Dr. Gordon, be the final person to close the door and all that stuff. I like the idea of that, and Mark Hoffman being trapped inside the bathroom screaming, great ending to the series. So yeah, all the stuff with Hoffman, Jill Tuck, Dr. Gordon. Dr. Gordon in this movie, some of the scenes he was in, he was kind of overacting a little bit. It was kind of weird to look at. But it was still cool to see him back. That scene where he's at the survivors meeting, he was a little overacting in that part, but it's whatever. All that stuff was cool, where Hoffman, gunned down all the police officers and all that stuff. He set up that machine gun thing, and then he killed Jill with the reverse bear trap. I thought that was such a tragic thing. But it was cool to see the reverse bear trap actually get used, you know what I mean? So yeah, all that stuff was great in the movie. I love all that stuff. But the stuff with, this character, and then the survivors, and then the look of this movie, it just sucks. And all the traps aren't even that great. The one trap I did like was the trap at the beginning with the two guys and the girl or whatever. I thought that was an interesting idea, where they had to push the thing towards each other, and then the trap was in public too, which is cool. But all the traps with him and all those other characters, just, those traps sucked. They're obviously meant to be 3D. Yeah, and then, also, too, Chester Bennington from Linkin Park, rest in peace. He had a cool part in this movie, too. I like that they included him. I heard he was a big Saw fan. But, just, bad movie. This is the only one I consider to be, like, legitimately bad. Yeah, just, I'm so glad that they made Jigsaw, because that's probably a better movie than this, for sure, by miles, probably. I might go see it in theaters, I don't know yet. But when I do see it, I'll let you know where it ranks in this, in this list. Whether it's when I review it, or whether it's when I unbox it on Blu-ray, or maybe I'll just leave a comment on this video saying where I think it goes in the list. But anyways, that movie sucks. All right, next we go to Saw 4. Now, here's the thing. I had a hard time choosing between Saw 4 and 5 as to what should be in 6th place. I went with Saw 4. Now, just because this is in 6th place, I don't think this is bad or, terrible or anything like that. The only one, like I said, the only one I think is really bad is Saw 3D, Saw Final Chapter, whatever you want to call it. Saw 4. My biggest problem with this movie is that there are way too many things going on in this movie. Now, don't get me wrong, I really love the twist at the end where this and Saw 3 take place at the same time. I absolutely love that twist. It's really cool. Did not see that coming. I like the twist that the autopsy at the beginning actually takes place at the end and all that. And I love that they show the autopsy in, graphic detail and all that. But this movie just had way too much going on in it. All the flashbacks with Jigsaw and his wife, I thought that stuff was great. When he did his first trap with that guy Cecil, and then they showed how, he made Jill lose her baby and all that stuff. I thought all that was great. It was just too much going on in the movie, though. It kept cutting back and forth between that and then Daniel Rigg, the SWAT guy, going through all the traps, and then it kept cutting back to, the investigators, Strom and Perez, And if you're wondering too, I recently went back and rewatched all these movies. That's how I have, all the characters' names fresh in my mind. But it just kept cutting back between so many different things, and then they threw Matthews in there. Hoffman was in a trap, which kind of looked sloppy. They didn't really show him getting captured. It was kind of obvious that Hoffman was the accomplice. And then the Art Blank guy and all that stuff. There's just way too much happening in this movie. And this movie, too, was directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, who did Saw 2 and 3. Those movies were great. I love Saw 2 and 3. People usually say, the 4 great Saw movies are the first 3 and then Saw 6. That's because they are the best. They never include Saw 4, though, even though this is by the same director who did Saw 2 and 3. I think by the time he got around to Saw 4, I guess he kind of just lost his steam, you know what I mean? Saw 3 was so great, but when they went to Saw 4, it just kind of fell apart a little bit. And this movie just doesn't look as eye-appealing. Like I said with Saw 3D, it doesn't look good to the eye at all. It's very bland looking. This movie looks a lot better than Saw 3D, don't get me wrong, but this movie just looks a little, I don't know, it's not as colorful and nice looking as as Saw 2 and 3, for example, by the same director. So, this movie's not horrible or anything, it's just, I don't really enjoy watching this one, really, as much as the other ones. Like, when I watch this, I feel like I'm doing, it feels like a task sometimes when I'm watching this movie, you know what I mean? But no, I do love all the stuff with the backstory of Jigsaw and all that stuff. Just too much happening at once is what I'm trying to say. Saw 4, not bad or anything. It's just my least favorite to watch, aside from Saw 3D, which sucks. Anyways, now Saw 5. Now here's the thing. I know a lot of people don't like Saw 5. A lot of people think Saw 5 is like boring, not much happening in it. That's the thing though. I like this movie because after Saw 4, we needed a breath of fresh air. I can't speak today. Saw 5 was definitely that breath of fresh air because this movie had a very good pace, in my opinion. I like the traps with all the people, the 5 people that had to go through the series of traps. I like that they intercut between that, and then, this movie was very much a Strom versus Hoffman story. This movie was a lot more simple than Saw 4. There wasn't much going on in it, but I do love the way this movie was paced, edited, all that stuff. This was directed by David Hackle, who was a producer in all the other movies. And he did a very good job. And I love all the stuff with Strom and Hoffman. This movie really did give a good backstory to Hoffman, too. All the flashbacks with him and Jigsaw, explaining, how he actually became his apprentice. And then the fact that Hoffman actually did a trap that made a trap and pretended it was a Jigsaw trap and, kind of got away with it. So yeah, this was a very, very good movie, in my opinion. The ending was crazy, too. That was the tagline, you won't believe how it ends, because the first time in movie history, someone was actually crushed by 2 walls completely, with Strom getting killed, obviously, and Hoffman getting away with it. So, yeah, a lot of people should give Saw 5 another chance, because I really enjoyed this one. Like, if you go watch Saw 4 and then go watch this one, you're like, oh, man, this one is way better, because it's like a huge relaxation, you know what I mean? Nice, bare-bones movie. And then, you could say the traps with these 5 characters are kind of random and kind of out of place. Not really, because, I don't know if you guys noticed this. Some people don't notice. There's the connection between these characters is that they burned down a house and killed 8 people. That's referring to the house in Saw 2, because, there were 8 people as part of that trap, and that was meant to be a cover-up for that house. Obviously, the house got renovated. It shows Strom and Hoffman going to the Saw 2 house at the end of this movie, which leads them to this, underground sewers, which they walk past the bathroom from Saw 1. They walk past walk to the room where Strom gets crushed or whatever. This actually does have a connection to Saw 2, because, as they're explaining, oh, we burned down a house and killed 8 people. That is the house from Saw 2, which has been renovated or whatever. But yeah, Saw 5. Definitely a good time. I've really enjoyed watching this. And I have a soft spot for this movie, because this is actually the first Saw movie I bought on DVD. I actually got it from Circuit City, of all places. Rest in peace, Circuit City, if anybody remembers Circuit City. And it came with this little cool keychain thing. I don't know if this is like an exclusive to Circuit City or whatever, but it included this little storyboard of, the trap with Seth Baxter, the pendulum trap. So I thought that was cool. As you can see, this is like a storyboard little flipbook thing. Right there. So this was the first one I bought on DVD. I ended up getting the first Saw afterwards from like a pawn store or something like that. Then I ended up buying Saw 2, Saw 3, Saw 4, and then finally Saw 6 when it actually first came out on DVD. I actually do remember the order I bought these movies because I was a huge fan back in the day. I had to get a hold of all of them, and then of course Saw 3D when it came out. But yeah, this movie, people should give it a second chance, really. I really enjoy it. So Saw 5 right there comes in 5th place. Alright, now here we go on to Saw 2. Now, this was a great sequel. Darren Lynn Bousman, like I said, came in to direct this one, and he did Saw 3 and Saw 4. This one, I really enjoy all the stuff in the house. I really, really like the idea of 8 people being stuck in a house, and then there's all these random traps spread throughout, and they have to find an antidote because they're breathing in this toxic air or whatever. And then the twist at the end with Amanda as the apprentice. Just a great movie. And all the stuff with Jigsaw and Matthews talking to one another and all that stuff. You've learned more about Jigsaw. And of course you got the famous line, "Oh yes, there will be blood." I love it. You got the iconic needle trap right there. This one with the guy with the face mask thing. Just really cool. And then this crazy guy, Xavier. And the twist at the end where they end up back in the bathroom. And Amanda shuts the door and says, "Game over." Just a really great sequel. Really love it. Yeah, I don't have much else to say. I really just enjoyed this one. I don't really have any complaints with this one, really, that I can think of. No, not really any complaints. I will say, though, I don't put this above Saw 3, Saw 6, the first Saw, just because I think those are slightly better. But yeah, this is a great time. I really do enjoy it. And yeah, Saw 2 right there. Now here we go on to Saw 3. Now, as you can tell, Saw 6 is very high on my list. I will explain that in a bit. But Saw 3 is a phenomenal movie because they killed off Jigsaw in the 3rd movie, which is nuts. I did not see that coming when I first saw this movie. And fun fact, too, the first time I ever watched any of the Saw movies, I watched Saw 1, 2, 3, and 4 on YouTube. Back in the day when copyright laws weren't so high, weren't so crazy on YouTube, people uploaded the first 4 Saw movies, because those were the only ones out at the time, in parts. Like, here's Saw 3, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. They uploaded in like 10-minute parts. And I watched all the movies on YouTube. And obviously nowadays those videos have been taken down. But that's the reason why I bought Saw 5 on DVD before any of the other ones, because I hadn't seen Saw 5 yet, because, I was watching all these on YouTube back in 2008 or whatever. Saw 5 wasn't on YouTube yet because it was the newest movie. Anyways, yeah, I've been on YouTube for a long time, since 2007 actually. But yeah, Saw 3, the director's cut, which actually includes some extended scenes and all that stuff, and missing scenes. Really cool 2-disc edition right here, nice blue look to it. But just a great movie. I love all the stuff with Amanda. Actually she was the one who's being tested in the movie the whole time. The stuff with Dr. Denlin and Jeff and all that. And then he kills Jigsaw, and then her collar explodes and all that stuff. Just a crazy ending. Like, seriously. I assume people who were in the theater who saw this movie were just like, disbelieving what they just saw. Because, like, Jigsaw got killed. But yeah, just a great movie. Great drama. Great, great traps, too. Great pacing, too. Some people don't like this movie because there's a lot of talking, dialogue-driven scenes and a lot of slow scenes. But that's what makes for a great movie. People, do criticize today's movies where there's less dialogue, less character development, just a lot of fast-paced stuff going on. Whereas this right here actually has some nice build-up, some nice exposition and all that stuff. Just well-done movie, well-crafted movie right here, Saw 3. So, yeah, great movie, Saw 3. Next is Saw 6. Now, people are like, why do you have Saw 6 way so high? A lot of people do agree Saw 6 is one of the great movies, obviously. People always are like, Saw 1, 2, 3, and 6 are the good ones. That is because Saw 6, in my opinion, is without a doubt the best Saw sequel, because it includes so many great storyline things. Like, okay, I rewatched this more times than any of the other Saw sequels because all the stuff with William Easton right there, just great character, just great story, great character background. His relation to Jigsaw, that he worked for the healthcare corporation, and he pretty much kills people because he doesn't let people get healthcare. He's got a little formula that he uses, and healthy people survive, whereas the weak die. And Jigsaw was denied healthcare by him, and then I just love all that stuff with him and Jigsaw in the flashbacks. Just great dialogue. That scene with Jigsaw and William Easton, where they're talking in his office, and then, Jigsaw sees the piranha. Funny moment. But that whole scene is phenomenal. Great acting. This movie it's very good. You actually care about the traps, the people involved in these traps. I mean, not these people. William Easton. You care about his story. He's got a personal connection to Jigsaw. And all the stuff with Jill Tuck and Hoffman in this movie, too. And then Hoffman's being investigated by Perez and Erickson. Really great movie. Like, I just love this movie. The traps are great too. Now, my one problem I had with it when I first saw this movie, I didn't like the idea that there were traps where someone was guaranteed to die. Because if you notice in this movie, I think this is the first Saw movie where in the traps that people have to die. You know what I mean? He has to choose between, for example, the Carousel trap, 4 people have to die, but 2 live. Now, back when I first saw this in 2009, I didn't like that idea. But nowadays, I actually do, because, I rewatched this recently after many years, and it actually makes sense, because the way his character works, his healthcare, formula, people have to die. So it's like, a thing for him. It's like, okay, it makes sense with that character, because you allow certain people to live, certain people to die. The scene where he's got the old lady hanging on the thing and the young guy hanging on the thing, he chooses the old lady to survive. And then this first trap he was in where he has to hold his breath and the other guy, was a smoker and he dies. It makes sense because with his lifestyle, people do die. And if you think about it too, everyone here has the same chance of living that the other person does. She has a 1 in 6 chance, he has a 1 in 6 chance, you know what I mean? It's still fair, I guess. But I don't hate that idea so much anymore because it makes sense for the character of William Easton that someone has to die and someone, does have to live. And the ending to this movie was phenomenal. I love that Jill put a reverse bear trap on Hoffman. And also, the stuff with Amanda. Amanda came back, and there was that plot twist where Amanda was responsible for Jill Tuck's baby getting, I guess, killed with Cecil and all that stuff. Really great drama, really awesome tension between Hoffman and Amanda in the flashbacks. Just a phenomenal. I really love this movie. I would put it at number 1, but the first Saw, you can't beat the first Saw. I love this movie, and Kevin Greuter directed this. He was forced to direct Saw 7, Saw 3D. Obviously, that movie sucked. Now, I say he was forced to direct that because he signed a contract, I guess, to where he directed this one. And he was going to go on to direct, like, Paranormal Activity 2 or something like that, but Lionsgate forced him by, contractual obligation to direct the next Saw movie, and that one obviously sucked. But he did a phenomenal job on this movie. He was the editor for all the previous Saw movies, but just a great movie. I love this movie, and it looks like a 6 right there. But, yeah, and Hoffman barely escapes with an inch of his life. I actually thought Hoffman was going to die when I first saw that. And I do like the idea that, yeah, he actually did survive. He just got a huge scar in his mouth now. Yeah, he went into really berserker mode when he killed Erickson and Perez. And just a great movie. I love this movie. Like, seriously, I'm probably the biggest fan of Saw 6 there is. And unfortunately, this one made the least amount of money of any Saw movie. I don't know why. And this one, too, was not crazy fast-paced like Saw 4 and, it had time to breathe. It really reminded me of Saw 5, but it had a little more going on than Saw 5, you know what I mean? And yeah, I do rank this above Saw 2 and 3. A lot of people love Saw 2 and 3, probably, the most, along with the first movie. But I rank this above Saw 2 and 3, just because I love the personal connection between Easton and Jigsaw. Just really great drama right there. And the fact that Jigsaw actually shows his face when he's, instructing Easton on what to do in his traps. He doesn't just use the puppet. I love this movie. And then there's a great after credit scene too. Yeah, just phenomenal movie. I love Saw 6. Anyways, number 1 is obviously the first Saw movie. This movie is incredible. Cary Elwes is the best part. His performance at the end, actually throughout, is just amazing. It's a shame that they didn't pay him the right amount of money, apparently. That's why he never came back until the last Saw movie. This movie was shot in less than 20 days, which is nuts. James Wan directed this, who went on to direct Furious 7, which is like the 5th highest grossing movie of all time or something like that. It's in the top 10. I know that. But yeah, just phenomenal movie. This really changed the way horror movies were made ever since 2000. Oh, well, yeah, this came out in 2004. Just really great situation with two characters trapped in a room. They don't know what's going on, and then you get all the backstory of Jigsaw. And the ending to this movie is so amazing. I remember when I first saw the ending of this movie, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my god. And you got the great score by Charlie Closer, who did all the scores for all the movies. You got that final song, Hello Zep, iconic music. Danny Glover's in it too, of course, from Lethal Weapon. Great part in this. Just a great movie. Like, I really have no complaints about First Saw. You could complain like, oh, things played out a little too perfectly for Jigsaw, everything went the way it was supposed to during the trap. Yeah, you could nitpick certain things, but just a great movie. Great suspense, great thriller, great detective mystery, great horror, great traps, great characters, just great movie. And my biggest complaint is that this is a full-screen DVD, which is really why I wanted to get that Blu-ray set to have the movie in widescreen. But actually, though, I forgot. This Saw 6 DVD came with an extra disc inside for Saw 1 randomly, right here, the first Saw. I don't know why they went ahead and did that and include the first Saw in this. But that one was a widescreen disc, thankfully. I always forget to watch that one as opposed to this one. But thankfully I have it on Blu-ray now, so it's not even a big deal. But yeah, the first Saw, it's pretty much a classic nowadays. Just great stuff. And yeah. So let me know what you think of the ranking. Do you think I made any mistakes in my choices? I'm pretty sure my list is very similar to everyone else's list. And I want you guys who are watching this video, leave in the comments below how you rank these movies. And if you've seen Jigsaw, please include it in your ranking so I get an idea of how good it is. If you haven't seen Jigsaw, just include, the movies you've seen. But yeah, that's my ranking right there. First Saw is the best. Saw 6 is the second best. Saw 3 is the third best. Saw 2 is the fourth best. Saw 5 is the fifth best. Saw 4 is the sixth best. And Saw the Final Chapter just sucks. Anyways, thanks for watching this whole video. Nearly 30 minutes. You're awesome if you sat through this whole thing. And yeah, please leave your ranking in the comments. I really want to see what you guys think. Thanks for watching this, and have a good one. Bye-bye.